Hi everyone, it's Shell from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. Today is day 11 in the Countdown to Christmas 2021 series, and we're going to be making this gold embossed snowflake card. We're going to start off with the MFT set Snowflake Splendor, and I'm going to be choosing some of the larger snowflake images to start creating this background panel. I believe the stamp set is no longer available, but I know that there are other stamp sets that are very similar to this from other companies such as Honeybee. I'm sure Simon Says Stamp has something. So check your stash and see what you can create with this. And it doesn't have to be snowflakes. You can use any images to create a background panel. So before I stamp these images out, I'm going to be using the light kaolin clay all over the background, which is an anti-static powder. This will help to make sure that the embossing powder only sticks in the areas that you want it to. I'm going to ink up the stamps with the Versamark and start stamping them down. I love to create background paper or pattern paper by doing this, by using large images first, stamping them down, and then filling in the areas with these smaller stamps. Now this stamp set has a cluster of 3 snowflakes, which is the smallest one, so I'm just being careful to leave a little bit of room in between the snowflakes so that I can go and fill in that space. If your stamp set doesn't have any smaller images, you can always fill it in with some sequins or sparkle blends, or you can use a white gel pen and put little dots in between it. There are so many different things you can do if your stamp set only includes larger images, or you can look at your other stamp sets and see if there's coordinating images that you can use in there that are smaller. So I'm almost done the background. I'm just going to be stamping up the last ones with Versamark and inking them up. And I do apologize for the sound of my voice. I have actually recorded a bunch of videos that I was going to do voiceovers and upload while I was on vacation, and I ended up sounding like this. Actually, this sounds a lot better, so I apologize for this. There will be more videos coming soon, so I do have a bunch recorded already. So now we're going to get ready to do the adding the embossing powder. This is just some Recollections Gold embossing powder. It is pretty old. I think it's about 10 years old, but it still works. I don't know if embossing powders go bad, but mine haven't. Now I've put the embossing powder back in the jar and I am getting ready to heat emboss. And you can see that bottom right snowflake, I did not get all of it. I'm actually going to go back and heat emboss that. You can see the big difference between heated embossing powder and non-heated powder here. I love this. It's always like magic to me when I see everything being heated up and the embossing powder melting. So once that was dry, I'm going to go over top of it with a Swiffer cloth, and I am just going to brush off the excess powder. And I started off with Blueprint Sketch and went around the edges, and it was a little bit too light, so I'm actually going to switch over to chipped sapphire here to go around the edges. I like the way the cardstock looks when you have a little bit of a darker image or a darker color around the outside of it. So I went around with chipped sapphire, and it's almost the exact same color as the cardstock that I used. So I'm actually going to use some black soot and go around the edges with that to darken it up a little bit more. Now this made it a little bit tricky to photograph because it actually made the background paper look black, but I do use some navy blue. This is navy blue cardstock, as you can see. Now I'm going to use that black soot distress oxide and go around all of the edges to just darken it up a little bit. I didn't go in as far as I did with the chipped sapphire when I was using the black soot. And I'm going to wipe the excess off of all of the snowflakes and just buff that off. And then we're going to get ready to move on to the next part. I thought it was a little plain still, and I thought we needed a little bit more. Actually, I'll get to that in a minute. We're going to do the sentiment first. I chose a black card base, which measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored at 4.25. So it's going to be a top folding card, and then I'm going to choose the sentiment from the stamp set that says Happy Holidays. Since I'm going to be gold heat embossing it, I'm going to use that same light kaolin clay to go over the cardstock and then stamp the sentiment in Versamark ink. And we're going to use the exact same gold embossing powder to sprinkle over top of that and heat set it. So I tried not to heat set it for too long because this is thinner cardstock. It's 65-pound cardstock and it is the card base. So I just went over it fairly quickly, as you can see, constantly moving my heat tool. I also heat the heat gun up for a little while, for about 30 seconds before I bring it to my card, so I try not to warp it as much as possible. We're going to use some, I believe this is Honeybee Bee Precision Glue on the back of it, and I need to place a new order because I am completely out of this glue and I didn't realize how much I loved it until I ran out of it. So I definitely need to get more. Hopefully Honeybee will have a sale soon so that I can pick some up. I'm going to glue that to the front of my card base, and this is where I thought it looked a little bit plain and it needed a little bit of something else. I didn't want a sentiment on there because I didn't want any of the snowflakes to be detracted from, but I knew I needed to add a little bit of something. So I used a couple of blends. I have some sparkle blends here. This is Amber's Birthday Mix, which was a free one. It has a lot of good gold pieces in it, and I thought that would look really nice. And then I also put some, like I'm doing here, a little crystal in between some of the snowflakes, just to give it a little bit of sparkle when you move the card around. You can't really see it. I know it's there, you can see it in person, but you can't really see it on camera. But when you tilt it, you'll definitely be able to see it. So I have some regular gold sequins, some sparkle gold sequins, and then I also put on some of those just like white little clear gems that I've had for a very long time. I'm just checking to make sure everything is on there. And that is the card for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below. And hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. And I will be back soon for the rest of the days of the Countdown to Christmas series. Bye!